Hello and what is going on today, guys? Tomcat here and welcome back to Off-Road Outlaws. Now in this video we're going to be talking about the Cuda, and this car is really cool. Now first off, the reason why I like this car is because it's different, number one, than all the other trucks in the game, and number two, it's really like when you upgrade this thing and you build it, it's really fast. It's insanely fast. So we're going to go ahead and build everything to max level and then we'll take it from there. Now, as far as where to find this car, you guys will be able to find it on the desert map towards the left middle of the map on top of a hill surrounded by some kind of brown trees. So basically, it's hidden, and then once you find it, you're going to go ahead and drive up to it, and you'll just tap on your screen right where the car is, and it'll be delivered to your garage. Now, basically, if you want to use gold to unlock all the parts, like right then and there, you can, or you can go about finding all of the other parts that you need in order to build the car or put the car together. Personally, I recommend unlocking it with a gold. That's what I did, but again, that's all up to you guys. But I was doing some gear tuning here because I wanted to see how fast I could make it, and I didn't necessarily get it to I didn't necessarily go and do like top speed runs with it or anything like that, but I wanted to be able to hit some of the hills on the desert map at least 100 miles an hour, and the gearing settings that I went with actually fully enabled me to do that. So that was not only a little bit surprising, but also really fun when I ended up getting into it, because I was like, dude, there's you can do so much with this car. You can make it a rock crawler, you can make it a drag car, you can put tracks on it and make it some ridiculous, crazy, interplanetary exploration Cuda. If you really so desire to do that, you can. And I'm not saying that's what I would do, but I'm definitely saying that the option is out there if that's what you're interested in. So we're just doing a little bit of tuning and suspension setup and stuff like that here. I wanted to keep the axle width pretty neutral. I don't want to say neutral as in like under the car, but basically when I say neutral, I mean just poking out ever so slightly from the fenders. I didn't want to make this thing like stupid wide, because when you make it like silly wide, then you end up running into some handling issues because of that. Like, for example, the car can grip up at weird angles and then pull to the side when you're trying to turn, and it starts to be really weird. So that's why I wanted to avoid going too crazy with the width of the axles. Now, if you go really crazy with the width of the axles, as long as you go with like wide tires, as long as you go with wide enough tires and big enough tires, the width of the axles doesn't really matter, because then you've got all of that width, combined, and you have the track width to deal with it. But for the wheel and tire width that I went with, which you'll see later on, I think I chose a pretty good axle width to complement that. Now, I will admit, a lot of the suspension customization options with this car I didn't quite see right off the bat. And when I say I didn't quite see them right off the bat, I mean you can change the size of the leaf spring shackles. You can change how high up or how low down they're mounted. And I didn't really notice them until I started to raise and lower the actual travel and the actual height of the suspension itself. So sometimes you have to raise the suspension up to actually be able to see what all of the other customization options are doing throughout the car. And that's something that you don't really think about until you actually get into the customization, and you're starting to wonder to yourself, I'm adjusting this, but it seems like nothing's happening. And something is happening. You are adjusting something. You just can't tell what it is because you can't see it, because the car's not raised up enough for you to see it. So some of those things I kind of wish that they would tell you, but I kind of wish that they would either highlight it or tell you like what you were actually customizing, or show you what you were actually customizing, because if you don't already have the car lifted up, then you can't see. And I feel like some people may not, they may just not know what they're customizing, and they may just leave it alone and be like, oh, I don't need that then. So we could have gone, I did show you guys what minimum tire size and maximum tire size look like on this car, and they look pretty ridiculous. They look crazy, I'm not gonna lie. But I wouldn't personally go for that. It's not, I wouldn't say it's my personal interest with this game or personal interest with this car, but I kind of wanted to build something balanced. And I think in the process of building something balanced, I wanted to set out to show that it was possible to build something really well balanced with this car. And I think that I did a good job of that. I don't think it's over the top. I don't think it's like anything super crazy. Although, like, what we did do a little bit later is when we were doing some of the visual customizations, we took the roof off and implemented a cage. So if you were hoping for a fixed roof, Cuda, then you may be a little disappointed, but not necessarily disappointed. I mean, I think they all perform very similarly, but I think the open top with the cage just looked really raw to me and just looked really cool and really intense, and I think it really complemented the style that this car had going on. So after changing up the wheels, that's what I went to do, was to go and mess with the body itself. And like I said before, the whole thing about running no roof is, it's like you can take it or leave it. It's all up to you when you build this car. But I think that, and I'll read your guys' comments and see if you prefer that, or if you prefer no roof with the cage, or if you prefer the roof altogether. I mean, having the roof on definitely contributes to cleaner body lines, and I will say that for sure. There's no arguing whether or not it gives cleaner body lines, but at the same time, it doesn't have that raw look and feel that the cage does. So that just looks weird, like the roll bar behind the seats. I think it doesn't look right in this car, but I think with the full cage, I think it looks great. So there's a few other options that you have here. You can do a full body exo cage. I decided not to go with that because I didn't think it suited the style of the car that we were going for. I went with the slightly more cut out fenders, but without the flares because I figured they look better. I also went with the blower sticking out of the hood because I was like, you know what? We've got to put it there. I mean, it's one of those things, and I was really, really close to putting the big wing on it. I was so close. A part of me felt like I had to, but at the end of the day, I was like, maybe it doesn't need a big wing, and maybe every single car ever doesn't necessarily need a big wing. I mean, I put big wings on everything, so I kind of like automatically would gravitate towards the wing, but at the same time, it's weird. It's like some cars are fine with a wing, other cars are like, no, like never. Other cars basically don't really look good with wings. And you also, it's weird, you get this opinion in the community sometimes that like a big wing on anything that doesn't have 1,000,000 horsepower is wrong. But like, it is wrong, and it's rice, and it's not effective. But the thing is, like, you know, little tiny Miata race cars that have, you know, a stock 1.8 liter engine that make maybe 120, 130 horsepower. Some of them are running big wings, massive aero, and it helps them to lower their lap times on a handling course. So you have to think about it from that respect. But we're getting into the game now, and this car, I do have to say, it's a little bit of it's a little bit to get used to. If you're used to driving all of the other like normal trucks and stuff like that, this car will catch you off guard because it is powerful, it is very fast, and it's a lot grippier than you might expect. It's actually got a ton, like a huge amount of grip. The funny thing is it handles like a quad, or at least it feels like it handles like a quad to me. And it also loves to do wheelies. If you set it up to do wheelies, it'll do them at the drop of a hat. Now, in the configuration I have it in right now, it's not exactly a wheelie machine, but it can still do them if you land a jump correctly. Now, when I said it handled like a quad, this is why. It's more than willing to do backflips anytime you want. Anytime you wanted to do a backflip, boom, it'll do it. Now, that's not to say that it doesn't occasionally crash, but what I was really impressed with is how good it was at recovering after landing jumps. I think it actually did a really good job of recovering after jumps, and it just, you know, it just, like, you might land a little sideways, but you land, and it distributes that landing, you know, it distributes the force of that landing throughout the tires, throughout the suspension, and then it just recovers. It's very easy to drive once you get used to how much faster it is than most of the rest of the vehicles in the game. So I really do give it props for being simple to drive while being very fast and really powerful and really capable. This is actually, I would say, a good bit more capable than a lot of the trucks that I've built pretty much ever I think, in this game. I don't think I've ever built anything in this game that was as fast as this, for sure. And I think that the only way you could get more capable than this is if you were running, say, like, a fully built mud truck with tracks or something like that. And that would not be as fast. Not in a million years would that be as fast as this. It might be just as capable, if not more capable, in mud. But at the end of the day, I mean, this thing just absolutely rips when it comes to speed, when it comes to stunts, and it's just an absolutely insane car to drive, and I think a worthwhile addition to your garage. I mean, honestly, that's why I said that I would just go ahead and use the gold on the car rather than going around and trying to find all the other parts, because I think that once you find the car, it's like you want to drive it, right? You find the car, and you're like, okay, I found it, I want to drive it, it's time to do it. And honestly, it's worth it. It really, really is, because it's one of the most fun cars to drive in the game. And I'm not just saying that because, like, oh, somebody told you to say that. No, this car is actually legitimately fun to drive. And yes, I would legitimately, you know, go for it and pick it up. Even if, like, you know, even if I didn't do, you know, even if I didn't do YouTube and I just played this game just to play it, I would still tell somebody that this car was worth picking up. If they enjoyed playing the game, this car is worth picking up. So I definitely think that it's worth it to get your hands on. Now, starting from like right in front of that hill probably wasn't the best idea. I had a little bit of trouble getting up it at the first couple of times, but the more I went for it, it was weird. It was like you have to hit it at the exact right angle, because it's got the first little hill and then it levels out and then it goes up again even steeper. So you have to make sure you don't lose all your speed by hitting the first hill and then just smashing into the second hill and then completely ruining your run. And I went back and forth at this a couple times, but I think that eventually we did make it, and I'll show you guys where we did make it. We almost made it that time, but I was able to save it by basically turning left and driving along the edge of the cliff, which was a little sketchy, not gonna lie, but at the end of the day, I mean, it still worked, so I was good with it. Now, the main thing, though, the main conclusion that I want to give you guys about this car is it fun? And yeah, it is. It's a lot of fun to drive. It's a lot of fun to drive, and I think that for like, when you compare it to the other vehicles in this game, does it actually feel different? And yes, it actually does. It actually does feel different. It's engaging, it's enjoyable, and honestly, I find it to be one of the most fun vehicles to drive in the entire game. So I think it's a blast, and you guys should definitely check it out, get your hands on it. I'm going to be doing some more builds of this car very, very soon. One with like max tire size, one with like minimum tire size. We're going to be doing some fun builds, and I will see y'all again in the next video. Make sure you guys subscribe for more. Tell me in the comments below what y'all thought of it. I'll see y'all later.